guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Modesty33 here, aka Crystal with a C. Kind of struggled whether or not I want to do this video, but it is not struggle, but I was just kind of like, I don't really necessarily see the relevance to do it now. But I'm gonna be doing a review, a movie review, and it comes kind of late, but I do apologize, but it just kind of the way it happened. But I'm doing a movie review on Spider-Man Homecoming. So again, if you don't like movie reviews, if you don't, if you haven't watched the movie, you don't want to be spoiled, then I suggest you click off this video. I've got plenty of other videos on my channel that you can watch and indulge in. So, but this is a portion of my channel. I do movie reviews. I do TV show reviews, or I am going to start doing those reviews. There are a few shows I got to figure out the logistics of how I want to film it. And then I'm going to be putting those out there as well as time permits. So, but yeah, I'm doing the movie review today on Spider-Man Homecoming because I watched it the other day. Not in the theater, but I was waiting on it to come on my movie app that I have on my phone. And it came out like last week. And, because I think when the movie came out July 7th in America, I live in America, but the movie came out July 7th, 2017. And at the time when the movie came out, I think I was just getting back from London. So I was kind of struggling whether or not I wanted to see it. And I think Planet of the Apes came out a few days later. And that for me took priority over Spider-Man. So I never ended up seeing it in the theater, but I heard a lot of feedback that it was really, really good. But I just want to get in and talk about it because there were just some really fun and phenomenal things about the movie to me. So again, I'm going to be giving away spoilers. I'm going to be talking about certain portions of the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie, I recommend you click off of this. Or you can continue watching if you don't mind, just getting my feedback about the film. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into it. But I'm certain if you are a movie review person, you've probably seen other reviews that probably came out the day that it released in America. And so you've probably seen everybody's opinion on it. I'm just giving my opinion, and my opinion comes from a place of, don't shoot me, don't hurt me, don't hurt me, you guys, but I'm not a Spider-Man person. I've never, ever liked Peter Parker. I've never liked any rendition of him that, has been in the past 10, 15 years. I mean, not to say anything about the movies and the way that they were filmed, because there are good elements in every single Spider-Man movie that I've seen. But I'm glad I didn't pay to see any of them. Maybe I did pay to see the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. I may have actually seen that in the theater. But I haven't invested a lot of money in Spider-Man. I'll just put it that way. I've never cared for Spider-Man. I've never cared for Peter Parker. I've always been a Clark Kent, Superman / Lois Lane girl. And I say that because, that's where my perspective of the movie comes from. That I just have never cared for Spider-Man. I've never cared for any rendition of him. But I have definitely cared for every single version, really, of Clark Kent / Superman. Yeah. I mean, you can't, what I'm saying? You could argue one is better than the other, but I came, from the Dean Cain, Terry Hatcher, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, got all 4 box, seasons on DVD. I got all 10 seasons of Smallville with Tom Welling, Erica Durant, Kristen Crook. Listen, we can put them DVDs out too, but I love, the Clark Kent coming of age and, coming into Superman. So I just always love that story. Now, Batman is a little bitter for me. It's a little dark and bitter. But I did appreciate Christopher Nolan's rendition of The Dark Knight. Those were really good films. So that's where I'm coming from. Out of, the superheroes, I love Superman. I've always loved Superman. And I even, and I feel like Superman is really, for me, unique, too, because just has an awesome leading lady. Lois Lane she is legitimate. She is everything. When I was a child, I wanted to be Lois Lane when I grew up. And, I wanted to be a reporter. I know the Daily Planet wasn't no real paper, but I wanted to be a reporter. And then I became a social worker, and I'm a mandated reporter, so know, if you've heard that term before, you know what that means. You know, if any abuse and neglect, I'm obligated to report that I see. So, as a social worker, so I got that reporter in there, just in a different aspect. So, anyway, but yeah, I just find that like Peter Parker, like I guess Mary Jane is the leading lady. I didn't really care for Mary Jane. I just really love Lois Lane in her own right. Like she really, to me, like enhances Clark Kent and Superman. But anyway, enough of that. But I just want to give you that little background about where I'm coming from with this review, because I'm not a person who's like, oh yeah, Spider-Man. Like, no, that's where we come into the divide, because I love Superman. But so I wasn't like excited about seeing the movie anyway, but like it looked like from the trailers it was going to be a fun new rendition of Spider-Man. And so, I watched it like on Friday night. I think I watched it Friday night. And today is Sunday. I'm wearing the same clothes. I'm probably uploading another video as I'm filming this one. So you're going to see me in the same clothes. But today's Sunday, October 1st. So happy October, everyone. So, yeah, like I watched the movie on Friday night. And, the movie is, basic runtime about like 2 hours, 15 minutes, I believe. Somewhere around there, which is what I would expect for a movie. Director is John Watts, who I believe is new to the superhero genre. Typically, you'll have your Bryan Singer or, Christopher Nolan did The Dark Knight. You have different directors, but I think John Watts is new to like the DC or to the Marvel, because DC is Batman and Superman. I just learned this stuff not too long ago. But I think John Watts is a fairly new director to the Marvel universe, and this is his first time directing like a superhero movie. And I watched the extras and all after the movie. All that kind of intrigues me. I like to see people's vision when they do a movie and kind of where their headspace is. So he was originally kind of wanting to do a movie, or he was looking to do a movie about like a teenage drama or teenage life, something along those lines. And then he ended up getting involved with this project for Spider-Man Homecoming, which was kind of up his alley, because he was looking to tell a story of like a teenager and like a high school type of drama. So that all kind of got implemented within Spider-Man. And then you have this main character, Tom Holland, who is 21 years of age. He is a British actor, which I was like, these British actors be on point, man. They have like awesome speech, voice lessons, to where you can't even tell that until you hear them actually speak in an interview that they're like British. That is amazing to me. Like how you can completely mask an accent in a performance. That's really crazy. But you have Tom Holland, who's 21 years old, who plays, Peter Parker. And I will go ahead and talk about some of the things I really liked about the movie. And this isn't giving away anything as far as the film's concerned. I really liked that there was a representation of people of different ethnicities. So, you have Peter Parker, he's a Caucasian male, whatever. But you have his best friend who, looks to be of some sort of Asian descent. I think the actor is from Hawaii. So when I looked him up as well. So, and he's a fairly new actor. He's 21 years of age as well. And then you have, the other actress, the main actress who plays Liz, who is Peter's kind of love interest. She is mixed. When I first saw her, I thought maybe she was like Dominican. Hopefully I'm not offending nobody. I'm African-American female. But, because, I don't want to just assume that people are like African-American. There are different renditions of black people. So I thought that, maybe she's mixed with like white and Dominican, but like then you see later on her dad is white and her mother is black. Black, I don't know if she's African American or she's some other type of culture, Dominican or from the islands. I don't know. But, you see that there's like a good mixture of different cultures, in this movie. So I really like that as well. Then the story of the film, which I thought was a really good take on the storyline. Like John Watts saw an opportunity to expand on a story that really might not be told. So essentially you find out in the beginning of this movie, it takes place kind of right after the events of the first Avenger movie, if I'm not mistaken. Y'all correct me because I haven't watched these movies in a while. But it takes place, I believe, after the first Avengers movie where the aliens came down in New York and messed up the city essentially. And so you have all of this like alien scrap metal technology that's just lying about because, you know, when you have battles and wars, you got trash and different things to pick up. You've got to clean up your city. So this is where you have the villain who comes in, or the antagonist, Adrian Toomes is his name, / the Vulture. And that's played by Michael Keaton, who's an experienced actor. You know, he played Batman back in the 80s. And so you have, you know, the Vulture. Before he became the Vulture, you know, he's this guy, Adrian Toomes. He's a contractor, and his business has been contracted to come in and clean up all this alien scraps and all this, you know, wreckage from the Battle of New York, essentially. So, you know, he's hired all these people to come in and clean up all these scraps. And then you have another agency that's called Department of Damage Control who comes in and relieves him of his duties, say that, hey, you know, you can't come in and you can't, you know, be messing with this stuff. Our department is now taking charge. We're the ones who are specialized in, you know, cleaning up this mess and all that. And so essentially, Adrian Toomes is out of a job, and his men that he's hired, all the trucks that he's paid for, like he can't really pay for that stuff because, you know, he came on with the understanding that, you know, he was going to do this deal. He was going to clean up this area, and then, you know, he was going to be compensated. His men were going to be compensated. So he essentially loses out on all of that. And so, and then, like, you know, you have him, and there's like, he's got a little crew of guys, probably about 5 or 6 guys, and they're talking about the politics of it, you know, because Tony Stark is the one who's Iron Man, who's the one who is the head of this Department of Damage Control. So they're talking about it, and they said, oh, so, you know, the rich guys are being paid to clean up their own mess. So it's a conspiracy, you know, essentially is what they're saying. But when you think about it, like when I think about it, I think that that's like actually smart, like, because like, what is the liability? Like, if you think about this in real terms, like, okay, I know this is a movie and it's fake, you know, there's no alien technology lying about that I'm aware of. But, you know, like, if you think about it as practical terms, like, what would be the liability be if like Adrian Toomes and his men get harmed in some way or get some type of radiation, or something happens to them as a result of handling all this alien material that nobody's tested, nobody really knows what it does, or the impact it has long-term on human beings. So it would be good for, you know, Tony Stark, since he's part of the Avengers and he fought these people, like, to go ahead and enlist the agency that would be specialized and that would know about this alien technology and who could clean it up. So to me, that's kind of actually a smart thing, because you wouldn't want to get sued later on from this agency, this civilian agency that you hired, and something happened to one of the men, because then that's another problem. So anyway, that's the way my mind works. So, you know, you have Adrian Toomes and his men, they're all kind of bitter because they've lost this job. But then in the, you know, they had gotten some of the scrap metal and some of the material. They had already loaded some of that stuff up on their trucks, and they were ordered to turn it over, but some of it they didn't turn over. So then what they end up doing is they turn all of this stuff into weapons, and they start making weapons, like black market weapons, to sell to people. And that's how they essentially adapt, is what they called it. Like, in this new age and new society, they made weapons out of this alien technology and sold it to people who were committing crimes, essentially. So in the midst of this, I'm sorry, I'm doing a whole bunch of talking. I'm gonna need to get a sip of water real quick. Y'all excuse me. Thank you kindly. So anyway, essentially in the midst of this, you've got Peter Parker, who in the beginning of the movie, which is really, really funny, they have it like a vlog style almost. Like, Peter is like videoing, you know, Tony Stark comes to get him, and this is, you know, taking place like Avengers, the Civil War, where Captain America and Iron Man were on different sides, and they had their different crew on different sides. So Tony Stark, you know, talks to Aunt May, who Peter is living with, and gets Peter to come with him and gives him the Spiderman suit. He suits up and he goes into action, you know, amongst the Avengers. So it shows a little bit of that footage too from Civil War. And then it's showing you the aftermath of Civil War essentially with Peter. So this is kind of where the film picks up. So one thing I liked about the film too is that it didn't go into a whole long origin story. It kind of just picked up from, okay, you know he's Spider-Man, he was bit by a spider, let's move forward, let's move on, let's tell another story. And that's cool to me because we don't need to rehash that. It's cool. So it picks up again like a few months after the Civil War, and Peter is essentially supposed to go back to normal with his life. You know, they gave him this suit, and, you know, like, you're fighting with the Avengers on, you know, Friday, and Monday you need to go back to class. So, you know, it's a hard adjustment for Peter, and, you know, Peter is just of the mindset when you see him that, like, I don't need this school. What do I need to do this school for? What do I need to invest in band and all these other extracurricular activities when I'm going to be an Avenger, I'm going to be fighting crime, so I'm just doing this stuff until they need me in the meantime, but I don't need to get too attached to it. So that's like Peter's mindset. And I will be honest, probably Peter annoyed me, like, for the first half of the movie. Like, just him doing stuff and, like, you know, him not being strategic about, you know, scoping things out before he just gets in there and, you know, he's a bit reckless. Then I find out midway through the movie, I think it's midway, like, it's after the whole boat scene where, you know, Tony Stark comes in and basically saves the ship from, you know, falling apart. You know, it's cut in half, and Tony Stark essentially comes in and saves the ship because Peter, you know, can't do it. And then Peter and Tony have this talk, you know, like on the building, and Peter's apologizing, like, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, but I had it, you know. And then Tony is like, you know, trying to talk to him and say, hey, you know, like, if all these people would have died, that would have been on you, but if you died, that's on me. You know, and I came and got this 14-year-old kid, and he was like, oh, no, I'm 15. And I was like, oh, hold on, pump the brakes right there. Pump the brakes. Hold on a minute. Did we say 15 years old? Did we say 15 years of age? Okay, this is when my whole mindset shifted in the film. Because then I start understanding. I came into a clear understanding. And maybe it was said earlier in the film. I didn't see that. I didn't read that. So, my bad if it was. But I'm like, so we're dealing with a 15-year-old child. So you mean to tell me, Tony Stark, that you and Captain America is on different sides of the tracks. You go and get a 15-year-old child, you put him in a suit, and you take him to Berlin to, you know, essentially fight, you know, or, you know, fight against Captain and the people on his side. I don't remember, again, all the details of that, but this is kind of part of what I remember. So you bring him into essentially grown folk business, and you have him fight on your side, and then you essentially drop him off like yesterday's news back at school, and you expect him to return to life as normal. He's 15 years old. He don't have a father in his life. You know, he don't have a father figure. He just got Aunt May who doing the best she know how to do. You know, and so again, it's like you put all this responsibility on a child, and then you expect them to go back to being a child. So you put grown folk responsibility on a child. Hopefully y'all understand what I'm saying. Hopefully I'm making sense. You put essentially a lot of responsibility, grown folk responsibility on a child, and then you expect them to go back to being a child. You know, does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense, y'all. So I'm like, okay, Tony, you know you dead wrong for that. Like, I feel like you real dead wrong. And if you were going to do this to Peter, you needed to provide more oversight. You got your little dude Happy. Like, oh, Happy, you check in with Happy. Happy ain't studying Peter. You could tell all the way through the movie, Happy ain't studying Peter. They're like, yeah, you know, we gonna check in with you. They ain't worried about Peter like that because they got other stuff they worried about. But Peter over here dealing with this dude who making weapons out of alien technology. This is priority. Like, you know, Peter doing what a 15-year-old gonna do. You know, he gonna keep on assuming adult responsibility because up to this point, it hasn't, you know, he hasn't had to kill anybody. It hasn't gotten real serious yet. So, you know, like, I feel like the boat incident was kind of humbling for Peter, for him to kind of see that, like, okay, these are people. This is life and death. But then Peter goes on to do some other stuff. disables the functions on his suit. I think he did that before the boat incident. He disabled the functions on his suit. Yeah, he did. Disabled like the functions on his suit, you know, and the suit's telling him like, oh, do you want to, you know, put in kill mode or whatever? And he's like, what? What are you talking about? I'm not trying to kill nobody. And it's like, dude, when you disable the training wheels, we talking about killing folk. Like that's what you got to do, because them folk be trying to kill you. And so he's 15 years old. He's not prepared for the responsibility of really like taking a life. So he's still very much idealistic and innocent. And so, and that's what I really did kind of enjoy about Peter. It's just like his idealism, you know, his sense of right and wrong. Like he really felt like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is what the right thing to do is. Even after like he finds out that like the guy Adrian Toombs is the girl Liz that he likes that goes to his school, it's her dad. And at first I thought that was a joke. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So, you know, the guy Adrian Toombs had made a threat saying he was going to kill everybody Peter loves. So now he at the house, you know, he going to kill the girl Liz, or he's going to, you know, threaten them. I was like, are you serious? Like he's the girl daddy? Oh my goodness. Because it never made mention of that before. You know, and so it gets very real then, because, and even at that, Peter had to make a hard decision, and he left the girl at homecoming to go and chase the man down so he wouldn't get away with the weapons. So, you know, that was a lot of character on Peter's part, really. And, you know, especially when operating in good character puts you on the outs with some people. Like it put him on the outs with Liz, and he really liked that girl, and you could tell she had some feelings toward him. And it put him on the outs like with some of his other classmates as well. And so, but he, you know, he didn't care. He wanted to do what was right. So that was really cool to me about Peter and his character, even at 15 years of age. And then like, you know, it progresses on in the movie. And, you know, again, toward the end, you see that the guy, Adrian Toombs, is caught. Liz and her mom end up having to move. They're moving to another city. And so, or they're moving to actually another state. So that's pretty sad. And I did kind of like the fact that he didn't get the girl at the end, because, you know, when you have to draw hard lines in the sand and you have to make certain decisions in life, it doesn't always turn out the way you want it to turn out. You know, in the end, I'm certain he would have hoped that he could put, you know, Mr. Toombs in jail and then he could still get the girl, but it didn't work out that way. And I'm glad it didn't, because, you know, it's really kind of showing, you know, every action has a consequence, good or bad. So I really like that as far as, you know, the writing in the movie as well. And I'm trying to think of anything else. I'm saying movie, but this video is already like 23 minutes, but I think that's pretty much it as far as my review. I give it 2 thumbs up. I genuinely enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it enough to like watch like all the extras, because you find out like Tom Holland, who plays Spider-Man, he has a background in dancing and gymnastics. So a lot of what you see as far as the stunts are actually him, with a little bit of assist from chords and things like that. But the physicality, he actually did it. So I think that was very, very cool. And I just think that the story was very well done, very well written. And y'all, again, this is coming from somebody who don't really care for Spider-Man. But I think they did a really good job. They did a fresh take on it. But like, yeah, they need a bit more oversight over Peter Parker. Like, he can't even drive. He's 15 years old. Like, I'm like, where they doing this at? Nobody is supervising this child that you done gave a suit to. Where they doing that? Tony Stark they need somebody else to come provide oversight. Even like the dude Happy. Let's talk about Happy for a minute before I end this video. Let me talk about Happy. Now Happy gonna come at the end and like apologize to Peter. You know, he's like, yeah, come to the bathroom. And he's like, yeah, you know, I'm sorry. You know, I made a mistake. And then there's a little boy in the stall. And I'm like, so Happy didn't even check the bathroom to see if there was anybody in there listening. What's going on? What's really good? And then the little boy took his time washing his hands and drying off his hands before he let them resume. I was like, where they doing this at? They need to get somebody else to be supervising Peter. It can't be the dude Happy, and it can't be Tony. It need to be somebody else who actually cares for him to do it. Because even, and one more thing that I just thought about, like Adrian Toombs even made mention of this to Peter, Like, you know, talking about how they're the little guys and how guys like Tony Stark will basically use them to get what they want. And I feel like in a sense, really, he was right, because you feel like that's kind of what Tony did. And y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I kind of feel like Tony did with Peter. Like, he saw a gift that this boy had, but he used it to his advantage when he brought him to Berlin, and then didn't even really think about how this would impact Peter, you know, long term. You didn't sit down and talk to him about the importance of having goals in life, like finishing school. Like, this is the whole thing about a double identity. You ain't gonna be saving people 24/7. You got to have something for yourself. And so, you know, Tony never sat down and, like, that I'm aware of, and had that deep conversation with Peter to let him know that. They just kind of dropped him off and were like, okay, stay out of trouble. Don't do anything I would do or wouldn't do or whatever. You know, so again, like, it's gonna be interesting to see Peter come into more of his own. But you really didn't see, like, Tony really active with Peter, except like at the end, and then like with the boat scene. But I guess I was under the impression when I watched the trailer that Peter, like, that Tony Stark was going to help him take down the Vulture, which he really didn't. So, you know, Peter just kind of did that on his own. So, you know, anyway, and then you kind of see that too at the end, where they call this press conference and Tony's got this big announcement, and then Peter thinks essentially it's a joke. But I was like, nah, he got them reporters there, and he was going to introduce Spider-Man to the world. But it's just like, okay, but like, you're the one who's doing the introduction, so it some way benefits you. So that's kind of my take on that. Like, y'all take it for what you want. I just want to go ahead and do the video because, you know, I thoroughly enjoyed the Spider-Man movie. I look forward to seeing what they are going to do with the series and the next group of movies that they release. But Tony Stark, he need to be checked. Somebody need to check Tony Stark, because he did wrong. But anyway, guys, just want to put that out there. Hopefully you enjoyed it, my rant about Spider-Man Homecoming. But overall, I really enjoyed the movie. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. And guys, I will see you in the next video. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed it. If you made it all the way to this rant at the end, make sure you comment below what your opinion was of the film. Things you liked, things you didn't like. What did you think about Tony Stark? Maybe I'm completely wrong. I don't know. Also, just make sure you hit the red button below to subscribe to my channel for more reviews. I'm going to be doing more reviews on movies as well as TV shows and reaction videos. So if you're interested in that, make sure you hit the red button to subscribe, as well as the bell on the side so you're notified when I upload videos. And make sure you share my videos with others that you know of who may be interested in reviews. So again, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.